We can start. Welcome, people. June 23rd. We will call the meeting to order. My name's Kevin Ramsey. I'm the chair. Mayor Philip Brown, Councillor Tweel, CEO Donna Waddell, and Chantel Masson, our EA. And Mr. Tim Garrity, but he's here for another presentation later. He's just going to sit in.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think Councillor Duran is on the phone.
Oh, yes. And then Councillor Bob Drong is on the phone. Are you there, Bob?
Yes, I am, Kevin.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we call the meeting to order. Any of the conflict of interest? See none?
No.
The approval of the agenda. I'd like to add one item. It's an update on strategic plan. I'd like to get approval. Do I have a seconder on that? And that's Councillor Tweel and Mayor Brown. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to add a couple items as well.
Certainly, sir. What are they?
The first one is the independent officer. Independent officer, that's a topic that we've been discussing at this committee level for the past several months. So I'd like to get an update as to where we're at. I did ask for jurisdictional scans across Canada as to what the position and what the terms of reference entails, not just what's happening here in this province. And then the second item I'd like to add is the FCM. No, not the FCM, MGA, Municipal Government Act. And I'll elaborate further.
Okay, so let's put that under new business for 7A and 7B maybe?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Everyone agree with that?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Drong. Okay, approval of the minutes. We're good with that? Moved by Mayor Brown, second by Councillor Tweel. Now we have one presentation for International City of Peace presentation. Would you like to go ahead with that? And we'll go from there. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, can you hold just one sec? We're just going to get our IT gentleman here. Yes. No. We good? Okay, you can go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
So we are here today, Mr. Chair, to present to you and a little about the City of Peace initiative that colleagues of mine, friends of mine here from the community and I have just about initiated. The City of Peace initiative is started with the understanding that what we're all searching for is peace, and we want to promote peace as a consensus value in everything that we do and in every aspect of our lives. And so we are connecting ourselves also to an international movement that is termed the International Cities of Peace, that began sometime in 2009 and has now spread to several countries, and I will come to that in just a second. So as I mentioned, our vision is quite simple, and it is at the core of everything that we plan to do, that we do currently and plan to do. It is to promote peace as a consensus value. Our mission is to do this through networking one heart with the other, one human with the other, and building a network of community-led initiatives to meet this goal of peace building. Our goals and objectives that flow from it are also very simple. We would like to have community-led movements and campaigns And the city has experience of such a campaign of peace beginning at home. We would like to do something similar. We would like to be educating as well about peace, starting with the young minds and hearts and moving to everybody. We would love for peace to be part of school programming, part of the curriculum, part of what they do in terms of a structured curriculum, perhaps, also extracurricular. We would love for peace to be integrally recognized as being important for health and well-being. We'd also love for Charlottetown and our neighboring municipalities in the greater Charlottetown area, and hopefully beyond that too, as being a community of peace promoters. We'd love for everybody involved and everyone we come in touch with to be promoting something that is equitable, something that's inclusive, and also sustainable as we move forward. We recognize that peace is very, very important and integral to achieving sustainable development. And that is why we are lending our time and our effort to this volunteer initiative. We do see some benefits, and it is nice. It is altruistic, but we do see some benefits for us growing as persons, for us strengthening ourselves as a community. We see a benefit in being affirmed as a city of peace. We see benefits in connecting with others. We see a benefit in being legitimized as a city of peace. In terms of education, we do see benefits in having an online presence. Far too many people live online for too many hours of their lives. And we do see benefit in populating the online presence with something that is peace promoting. We would love for strengthened public relations, and we can do that through the International Cities of Peace blog, as well as our neighbors in Moncton have the Peace Leaders Collaborative, and we are linking with them as well. And Dr. Carolyn Thorne is here, who was one of the initiators of the International Peaceful Schools program, and we'd like to link with that as well. A community, it starts with one, and that's how we want to build, one with the other, us as individuals, with our families, in our communities, and moving further. We would love to have representation as part of ECOSOC in the UN as well, trying to see how we can influence peace, not just in ourselves, our families, our communities, but if we can promote that world over. We have currently, as we saw in the very first slide, benefits. We have currently 356 cities of peace, with the town of Massachusetts being the 356th. The 355th City of Peace is actually a small, tiny village in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's in South Kivu. The village is Ijwi. And so we are poised to be recognized world over as the 357th International City of Peace. It is something for young hearts and minds to feel excited and enthused about, that we are finding, seeking peace within, as well as connecting ourselves to that, something that is bigger, larger than ourselves, as we aspire to a fulfilling, happy, prosperous life. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Anybody have any concerns or any questions for? So what are you basically looking for us just to say, that we are a city of peace?
Yes, please.
All right. Councillor Trio, do you have anything?
First of all, I want to thank you for your presentation. Your presentation is timely, considering the conflicts that are taking place in the world today. We don't have to go too far to see what's happening in the Ukraine and Russia. You reference the International Cities of the Peace, and obviously there's, in your presentation you talk about connections. So connections, for example, with the United Nations. What committee or what part of the United Nations is the International Cities of Peace connected with? That's my first question.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Tweel. The International Cities of Peace is associated with the ECOSOC, or the not-for-profit sector of the UN. And what we do get to be, how we get to be involved with them is through youth representation as well as not-for-profit representation. Peace is profitable for sure, but the way it is at the moment, it largely sees itself represented in the not-for-profit sector. But when we have UN conferences, we are able to have representation through ECOSOC that is for promoting sustainable development, but with larger representation from the not-for-profit sector. So we could have our youth taking part, not just here. We would like youth parliaments, we would like youth peace cafes, we would like UN peace ambassador who's a youth, and we would like to have them represent not just concerns that we have within our community, that too, but to represent and say, well, we denounce what Russia is trying to do, and as youth, this is what we would like to do to help rebuild the severe destruction that Ukraine is facing, the severe destruction to their lives that the Ukrainians who have fled the place are facing. So this gives a platform for people, both young and old, to come together to be able to do something.
So basically, it's spearheaded through the non-for-profit, which is the NGOs, and it's safe to say this is worldwide. This is worldwide, but there's not a particular. If you look at the United Nations, for example, the Security Council, the General Assembly, all those. I was just wondering if it did come under one of those umbrellas. And then, do you even go so far as to petition, say, NATO and some of these, international organizations that have a lot of power, excuse me, and a lot of clout in the international community? And is your campaign or your organization able to make those connections and have some type of an influence? If you could elaborate on that.
For sure. Thanks for that question again, Councillor Tweel. The way we envision that kind of influence is through the power and the energy of those who are involved in this volunteer service. Now, the UN body has ECOSOC for representation for the not-for-profit, but we don't need to stop there. We here as a community, when we get to influence our elected officials, and youth through their youth parliaments, and us through our representation, the adults through their representation, speak to the elected representatives in their local region and ask for influence at the provincial level and seek influence at the national level. And once we have a strong enough influence, that influence can move to where the heads of state are now involved in the Security Council, maybe the G7 and other powerful representations. We do have the potential to be there, but it can take a lot of time and effort. But definitely the scope is there. We aspire to do that. We aspire to make as big a change as possible. We would like to start with ourselves.
Thank you. And one more question, if you don't mind. The organization began, or the movement began, I think you said 2009. Would you be able to give a thumbnail sketch as to the positive impact and effect that the International Cities of Peace have accomplished since that time? Could you walk us through that, please?
Thanks again, Councillor Tweel. Peace and the achievement of peace has been enormous. In terms of numerical value, what started off as one small collection of individuals coming together has grown today to 356 regions or localities, call them cities, in 72 countries. In 72 countries, people living in 72 countries speaking more than 108 languages get to be united through a common platform where they can then either join their energies or celebrate what they're doing but keep moving forward. Now, instances of severe destruction and violence have not been heard in these places where the people have come forward to call themselves as peace builders and peace promoters. Being a volunteer movement and peace being something that is more of an intangible, we haven't done long-term formal studies to understand the nature of impact that it has had. But that is definitely something that we are looking at doing. Just at our meeting yesterday, the day before, I'm sorry, when we came together as a collective of peace promoters, one of the questions that was posed to us was, do we have studies? Do we know the impact that the Cities of Peace has brought about? Well, the impact that I can see right here is us. I did not know these people. I did not know most of the people sitting here a year ago. I have connected, and Saul has connected me to several others, as has Sid, and Jolene, and Ginger, and Dr. Thorne here. Each human person connected with so many others. And being a volunteer effort, we know it takes time and effort outside of what they have planned already in their regular lives. We understand that, we appreciate that, we value that very much. And we want to keep continuing the momentum. Is it always going to be possible for us to bring forward studies? Yes, maybe yes. Well, but we have plenty stories of change on our website. It is the internationalcitiesofpeace.org. We have each city of peace represented there. And we get to talk with the other cities of peace as well there. So that is one place where we showcase our work. And for people, sometimes like myself, find it a little bit daunting to talk of the good work that they do. Not always are people trumpeters of their work, and so it takes a little bit of encouragement to say, no, what you're doing and saying and being is worthwhile, and we would like for you to share it. And so that is some encouragement that folks who are involved in the movement can make, as also support from institutions and organizations and governments. For us, for the individuals to be able to do that becomes very, very important. And that just keeps the movement alive, keeps the momentum strong, and helps us go even further.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like, they were great questions, Councillor Tweel. Councillor Drown, do you have any questions?
No, that was a great presentation, very informative, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Brown?
Sylvie, I know you've introduced Carolyn Thorne. I think, Carolyn, are you still living up in Woodlawn Drive in Sherwood? Yeah. Could you just introduce the other guests? I know Soleil, elle a même l'église de moi, the Holy Redeemer, mais les autres?
Would be my pleasure, Your Worship. We have Jolene Chen. She's Director, Asia Pacific at Holland College.
Okay.
Jinjae Weng is an international student at Holland College. She's also our creative expert, I forgot to mention Jolene Chan is our co-initiator in the City of Peace program, who has been with us right from the inception and in the planning stages. Dr. Thorne, you already know, she's teaching. She's in the Faculty of Education at UPI. She's been the initiator of the International Peaceful Schools Movement and looking to strengthen it. She's spearheading the social emotional learning and professional development within our schools. Soleil, you already mentioned, she, besides her work with the school, the French school, she is also a small business owner. And she's an event planner, organizer, and she has offered her expertise with that. Siddharth Acharya here is a community educator with the Peers Alliance. And there are folks who have sent in regrets. You know Jane Ledwell. Jane Ledwell has been involved for many, many years. She is executive director of the Women's Network of PEI. She had a meeting in Georgetown and she said, Selvi, I wish we had cloning, we would have pinned down on cloning by now. So she could have been in both meetings, but she is required from work to be there. But she has been instrumental in promoting the Peace Begins at Home campaign, and the contribution that she has made over the years is something even the best of us will find extremely difficult to ignore. We have Craig Mackey, who was with the Association for Newcomers for close to 15 years, 12, until he took his second retirement. Health came a knocking, and he sent word that while he was recovering from one lung infection, the doctors have told him that it is pulmonary fibrosis that has come a visiting and seeks to stay a while. And so he isn't able to be with us today. Dr. Sean Weeb as well, whom you know with the Faculty of Education. He has been an inspirer. He has been helping us and encouraging us to connect. And he was like, don't stop with one city. We want to keep connecting with others, and we want to connect to begin with our neighboring municipalities, like your worship has encouraged us. So with the town of Stratford, the town of Cornwall, moving beyond, we had people from Montague and Tignish and O'Leary join us at our online meeting. So if that is something feasible, we would love to do that. Our neighbors in New Brunswick, who now at the moment have the envious recognition of being the only city of peace in all of Atlantic region. So the city of Moncton, Dieppe and Riverview coming together as a greater Moncton area. We had people, Darlene Duron and Richard Schulz, who are part of the Peace Leaders Collaborative there. And we have 107 people who have signed on for Charlottetown to move ahead as an international city of peace. And we have 2 institutions who have stepped in to say they wish to give us support. So we have the University of Prince Edward Island, and they would like to they have signed on as an institutional partner. And Holland College has signed on as an institutional partner. When we began, we weren't thinking around those lines, and they encouraged us to think about institutional partners as well. And so we are delighted to be able to do that.
And Mr. Chair, je suis très encouragé par le représentant de Asie, Côte d'Ivoire, Inde, partout du monde. Great representation that shows that there's a lot of strength, and your numbers show that. And the number of cities already participating in this Cities of Peace is something that is good for any community, especially if you look not just at the international conflicts, but just the polarization of ideas among those that are on the far right, far left, or trying to find that center. This is a good moment for all of us not to just look at the obvious conflicts, but there are conflicts that are always brewing, and you just have to look to the south of the border with gun violence, which is running out of control, and many times that is because of lack of peace initiatives like you're promoting here today. So I'm very appreciative, Sylvia, of how you brought this group together. You know, when I think of China, 1.4 billion people, India, your home country, 1.2 billion people. You know, these are big, big countries with lots of population, but we are part of that international community. And the city of Charlottetown is becoming a more of a multicultural, diversified city. And this is just another way to promote that diversity, le multiculturalisme, juste l'échange des idées entre n'importe quelle personne de quelle partie du monde. I just think it's great, and hopefully we can move it, Mr. Chair, up to the next level and declare Charlottetown as a city of peace and encourage our sister communities of Stratford, Cornwall, the western capital of Summerside, and so forth. Thank you, Sylvie, for your presentation. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, folks. Okay, we will certainly discuss this. Oh,
Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind me questioning,
yes.
I just was, while we were talking, was kind of looking at the website, and I see a City of Peace proclamation or resolution from Rockford on the site. Is that something that, like what you would want, is the city to pass a resolution declaring Charlottetown to be a city of peace? Is that what you're looking for? I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to do this.
Yes, absolutely. And so that is something we would like very much. And because it is a city of peace recognition, it is the spirit of the recognition that we would like to focus on, and we are happy to present a text or a document for having that formalized. And with His Worship having mentioned, we are happy to bring that forward on to you.
So you'll bring it forward?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, rather
Okay, so you'll bring that forward to us and
We will, yes.
we'll move on that.
than their thoughts. Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, folks, for your time, and it was very informative, and we'll certainly wait for your response. Thank you very much. If you're going to speak English.
You want to just come up a little so we can get you on the camera? Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
did you, Tim? It
Want
looks
some
good.
Want some more water there, Tim? Lots of water. Okay.
Okay. Next on, election bylaw amendments. We're going to rescind one because of the wording, I believe, Donna, is it?
Well, you may want to listen to the, you do have to
The
do
officer
that,
first.
But maybe we'll listen.
Okay. We have Mr. Tim Garrity here for Elections PEI, and he's going to go through some of the bylaw amendments. Tim, is that correct?
Yes. Elections PEI, as you are all aware, we are contracted by now the 5 of the largest municipalities here on PEI to run their elections on their behalf. So underneath the Municipal Governments Act, you have to name what's called an MEO, Municipal Elections Officer. All the municipalities have to do it for their elections every 4 years. So Charlottetown, Stratford, Cornwall, Summerside, and Three Rivers contract with Elections PEI. They name myself as the MEO. We run the elections on your behalf. We send you a bill, essentially, in the end, and look after all of the ins and outs. Leading up to the election, in our preparation, we were reviewing all of the bylaws for each of the 5 municipalities and just making sure that everything was in order, that everything was in sync with the Municipal Governments Act, their election regulations. And we found some things that needed to be needed to be looked at and needed to be amended. And this wasn't just in Charlottetown, this was in all the municipalities. So we reached out to each of the municipalities, kind of gave them a draft copy of some of our comments of what we, of the changes that we thought should be there. And we had heard back from everybody, and the city had reached out to say that they would like to have a bit of a further conversation on this. So I drafted up a letter to the members of the committee here just to explain the rationale, because I think there were some questions around mobile polls and their locations. And in the Municipal Governments Act, their election regulations, it states that these are to be in healthcare facilities, which are basically licensed healthcare environments, not seniors-friendly apartment buildings. And there's a reason for that. These provincially, that's the wording that is used as well. And that used to be the wording that was used in the bylaws that the city had. In 2018, the city amended some bylaws with the new Municipal Governments Act. They changed some of the wording in there, included some locations that are not licensed healthcare facilities. It was, I guess it was slightly overlooked by both the city and Elections PEI at the time with the new Municipal Governments Act, not trying to make excuses, but it wasn't caught at the time. It was caught now. In order to be in alignment with the regulations provincially, what is required is to remove some of these requested mobile poll locations that the city has in their current draft bylaws and align them with the licensed healthcare facilities that are within the city limits.
Yeah, and I know, as you say, like two parties missed that in 2018, for
Yes.
example. And my only question, not only question, but one of my questions was when I seen this report was we can use any senior apartment buildings that are around the city of Charlottetown, and people will not go out to vote. They'll go to their walker, they'll leave their apartment, and they'll go to the lobby where some of these places, these mobile polls were, and they go to the lobby and they'll vote. It's almost like a social thing, but I know, because I get 3 or 4 of them in my ward, that they will not leave that building probably. So that's going to hurt. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. You go ahead.
And the thing is that we keep saying how election numbers are dropping, voters are dropping and all that, especially in Ontario. They only had about 42% for their last election. But at the same time, if we're trying to get people out to vote, I think the easiest way to go about it is very convenient for them, because they are seniors and a lot of them are just on walkers and like they don't leave the building. And this was their way to go and see that. And I understand what the health PEI is saying also too, because you don't know who's going to go in and who's not going to go in and all that stuff. So that was my only point about the whole thing. And like, but if it's a rule, it's a rule. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I do understand that. In the 2019 provincial election, we'll just use the example of 501 Queen Street. Everybody who lived in that location voted at the Jack Blanchard Hall, which is just down the road. It's not very far off. We had 77% voter turnout. So we're encouraged by that. We do offer a mail-in ballot where we will mail it right to the person's house or their apartment, whatever the case is. We will give them an addressed envelope to come back. They can fill out the ballot in their own place. They can get it right back to us. It's a very easy process. We will provide those applications to anybody and everybody who wants them. There are more challenges than I think are really being considered in what you're considering to be a mobile poll is not the reality of what a mobile poll is. When we do a mobile poll, say, for example, at Geneva Villa, a licensed seniors facility, we actually, when you go to vote, you get your yellow voter card in the mail, and you take that to go to vote. At these mobile polls, these licensed healthcare facilities, we get those cards, actually. They don't get sent to the residents there. We get them sent to Elections PEI, and we arrange a time with the administrator to go in and say, we're going to be at Geneva, just for example, from 10 until 2 on this date. Everybody can come down. They just come down, they present, and they say, you know, Tim Garrity, we pull out their voter card. We make it as easy as possible for them to be able to go and vote. The seniors-friendly apartment buildings, the challenge around that is drawing a line to say, where do we go and where don't we go? There are over 500 apartment buildings in Charlottetown. Several of them have a large number of residents there. And the way that the law is written, we will go to the licensed healthcare facilities. That's the way that it is provincially. It's the way that it is federally. And it's a way for us to be able to manage these elections, for us to be able to go to these different locations and to try to arrange these things, to have Wi-Fi so we can do them, to have a space that we can set up in a lobby type area. It's more complex, the reality around that. We feel that we will be able to deliver a very effective election, to engage with the voters as much as we can. The ease of being able to vote, like we said, if somebody wants a mail-in ballot, in the past, it used to be sent out, you had to get it back. It was on you to kind of get it stamped and sealed and sent back to us and everything. We'll take that responsibility on where literally, if you check the mail, you'll be able to vote because we'll send it right to your mailbox. You can fill it out. You can get it back to us. Done and done. You don't have to leave the building at all. So we understand and we appreciate that. So we're trying to cover all of the bases that we can.
Yeah, that was my next question. Would elections PEI be putting one in everybody's mailbox? Let's say for 501 Queen, we use that example too. There's 199 apartments in there. So would they be putting one in everybody's mailbox so they'll read it and they can do whatever they want?
Well, you have to apply for a mail-in ballot. So
Okay.
the onus is on the elector. You either can show up to vote at one of the advanced polls, you can show up to vote on election day, or you need to apply for a mail-in ballot. But the onus to participate in the democracy is on the elector. They can exercise their right to go out to vote by mail. They can exercise their right to not vote. That's entirely on them.
Anyone? Councilor Twill, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you for being here, Tim. Just a clarification there, wards 3 and 4. Geneva Villa, Old Rose Lodge, Champion Court, the Mount and Devere Court. None of these facilities are in Ward 3. They're all in Ward 4. So that's the first clarification. Ward 3 has nothing to do with these facilities. They're in Ward 4. The second thing is, I want to point out, as you talked about, licensed community care.
Licensed healthcare facility.
Healthcare, community care, I think we're on the same page. No?
They're
They're
different.
just-
Those are
okay.
different.
All right, I can understand the roving polls, for example, at Old Rose Lodge. There's a certain time, right? And I think that's been done in the past. If you look at the Mount, it's not. There's a combination there. Okay, you have people that are it's seniors friendly. It's nursing. Residents there get those services when it comes to a nursing home. So it's a hybrid. It's not.
But it is a licensed healthcare facility. So we
That's-
go to that.
Yeah, I
Building.
understand that, but there's a
It's
lot
the
of.
same as Geneva Villa, actually. They have a bit of a hybrid structure there as well. They have
Yeah,
apartments that
yeah.
are a little bit independent living, and then they have a nursing home side of the structure as well.
Right.
But it is a licensed
But
healthcare facility.
When you look at, say, the Champion Courts, Devere Court, Queen's Court, I think, Tim, be brutally honest with you, it's advantageous to have, I would suggest, a polling station in a facility like Champion Court or a facility like Devere Court, because a lot of residents, as was pointed out here earlier, a lot of seniors like that ability to stay within their own facility. Some of them have mobility issues. And I understand what you said about, the mail-in ballot and the onus on them. When you're at the senior level, a lot of them like to do something when it comes to exercising their franchise, something that's familiar to them from a conventional and from a traditional sense, as opposed to what's happening contemporary. They feel comfortable being able to walk in and marking their X and putting that ballot in the ballot box. Okay, that's from a conventional, traditional sense. That's what they feel comfortable doing. That's where they feel the most, secure. Not mail-in ballots. Well, who's it going to? And sometimes there's confusion. They don't know. Some of them would say, well, where's it really going? Well, elections PEI. Well, who's going to see my ballot? And all that kind of stuff. So I think we have to go above and beyond the call of duty, especially when it comes to the seniors, to, I can recall years ago when they moved the polling station at Champion Court. They moved it up to Birchwood, and a lot of residents are pretty upset about it. They were really, really upset because for years, election after election, polling stations were held at, say, Champion Court. And then for some reason, moved it out of there over to Birchwood, and a lot of the residents resented that fact. So I think we've got to be, the roving poll, and plus a poll that's there all day long. I think we've got to be really careful there. I really do. And we've got to make it as easy as possible, particularly for our seniors and ones who, no fault of their own, have mobility issues. Like Kevin mentioned the walkers, and it's great from a technical sense to look at what the law says, health facilities or what's registered under the province. We've got to go above and beyond that, okay, as opposed to what the province is saying or what's outlined in the legislation. We've got to make it as easy as we possibly can for our seniors, and particularly some of these seniors' homes. I mean, from a traditional, from a conventional sense, the easier we make it, the easier for them to go in and vote and be done with it. So I put that on the floor, Mr. Chairman, for reconsideration purposes. The other question I have is the advanced polls and the location of the advanced polls. I don't see that here. I apologize if it's in here. But I'd like to know about the advanced polls and where you're going to have them, because sometimes I know one election, electors in Ward 4 had to drive out to West Royalty Community Center, which made absolutely no sense whatsoever. 3 miles or outside of their respective ward to go vote in an advanced poll. It made no sense. I don't know if you were here for that or not, but I mean, that was a real challenge. That was a real challenge for people. So I would like to see the advanced polls somewhere in the respective wards in a central location, as opposed to 2 and 3 miles outside of the ward or on the periphery of a ward, especially when it's hard for people that don't have transportation. It's great to have it in an advanced poll in a location where people in that community have transportation and easy access to that advanced poll. But I'm thinking of the people that don't have cars and don't have transportation and find it difficult. So once again, I would stress that we got to make that much more easier for people that, particularly that walk, when it comes to voting in an advanced poll. I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. Thank you.
No, I appreciate those comments. We don't have anything around the advanced polls. It's not something that is part of the bylaws or anything like that. So it wasn't to be it wasn't to be part of this package. This was in relation to the bylaws and making sure that they're aligned with the legislation of the Municipal Governments Act. I understand what you're saying, go above and beyond and everything like that. Elections PEI, we do make it as accessible as we can. We do follow the legislation. That's a bit of a, we're sticklers on that up in our office. And the legislation states what it states. There is that challenge that we have. Back when I came to Elections PEI in 2018, we had some meetings with Health PEI about having regular polling locations, meaning everybody from the community goes to a senior's home to vote. And it was agreed upon with Health PEI and Elections PEI that we would not use those locations as community voting locations due to the in and out of people and the challenges around sickness and everything else. COVID has only highlighted that, of course. So we don't want people from all over the community to go into these senior centers when they don't need to be able to go and vote. We do pick central voting locations as best that we can in each of the wards around the city. We do that in all of the municipalities that we do them with to try to make it as accessible as possible. The advanced voting locations, we do share those locations. 2 wards go to 1 location. That's the way that it has been done since prior to me being at Elections PEI. It has seemed to work very well for us. It's something that we can always take a look at, but it hasn't seemed to affect the voter turnout. We have not had any complaints in our office about it, but it's something that we're always willing, and we're always looking at making sure that we're as accessible as possible to the electors to make sure that we can get to everybody who can.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mayor Brown.
So, Tim, thanks for coming in. Tim, again, to clarify just what you're saying in the brief that's here, the locations that would not meet this legislative definition would be Champion Court, Devar Court, Charlotte Court, Mayfield Senior Citizen, Spring Park Court, and Sherwood Home. But everything that's under below is a list of the mobile polls locations used in 2008. Ward 4, Geneva Villa, Old Rose, Champion Court. Ward 5, 6, Bevan Lodge, Spring Park Court. They will remain.
No, what's on the second or the third page of that letter is a list, and I realize that it's a little bit small there. I apologize for that, but it is part of your bylaws. That spreadsheet or that chart is part of the City of Charlottetown's proposed bylaws that are there.
Right.
So what will remain are the licensed healthcare facilities that are within the city. Langell House, Smith Lodge, Park West Lodge, these ones here. What we're saying that shouldn't be part of this.
Old Rose, Champion Court, they're all gone.
Old Rose will remain. Champion Court, Duvar Court, Charlotte Court, Mayfield, Spring Park Court. We're saying they need to be removed.
Okay.
Sherwood Home doesn't exist anymore.
So Bevan Lodge will remain.
Yes.
Okay. Atlantic Baptist,
yeah.
Garden Home.
Yeah. Beach Grove Home, Prince Edward Home, Andrews of Charlottetown, Geneva Villa, the Mount Community Care, those will remain.
So, Mr. Chair, if a municipality has a stronger language than the Act, which we are saying, because we're looking at spreading more polls to allow more people to vote, and that makes it stronger than the Act, than the regulations. We're saying we want more. And you, as the chief electoral officer, you're hired by the city to do that as long as we stay within the regulatory requirements of the Act. So the Act, I think, would not say, no, don't go and have a mobile poll at the Mount. If we want to do that, that's stronger. But if we said we want to eliminate Old Rose, Geneva Villa, then we'd be contravening the Act. So I think what's being asked here is that we want that accessibility. And if I go to your 2018 municipal elections report and I go to Ward 2, and look, I love the data that you have put together here, pie graphics, bar graphics. But if you look at it, voters by age group. Okay, let's start at 55, 59, 142, 60 to 64, 166, 65 to 69, 165, 70 to 74, 153, 75 to 79, 89. Then if you go to the extremities, 18 to 19, 8, 20 to 24, 32. The voting core, as you know, I know you know that, and this is the same in provincial, is that bell curve or in the center where the older age persons are situated. And, you know, Tim, I know that it's a lot of work during elections because you're doing the whole island. You're not just doing Charlottetown. The municipal elections are from East Point to West Point, North Shore and South Shore. So there's a lot of work going on for your department during these municipal elections. But I'm a firm believer that access to polls and what we've had up to this point is stronger than the legislation. And for me, I want to keep it in there because accessibility is very important to our seniors. And again, we have an older population. We're only tipping the scales on that because of due to immigration, but we need to make sure that these polls are in place. And I think it's a comfort for some of our seniors to have that opportunity. Now, to say, okay, they can fill in a mail-in ballot. Well, I did that in 210, 214, 218 for students. Do you know how much work is involved in a mail-in ballot? And Tim, you know, you approached the four municipalities, the four big municipalities, Stratford, Charlottetown, Cornwall, and Summerside, to look at online voting. We all endorsed it. And that would have made it easier for many to vote. And you couldn't find a provider. So now we're looking at, well, let's mitigate what we can make available for our seniors. If we have to pay extra money for it, I would be a big supporter of paying extra money to provide these polls, these mobile polls. And just on another issue, will elections, PEI, will you be doing a remuneration for the 2022 municipal elections?
No, we will not.
Okay, so there's another component that's been removed from the election process. And I can tell you in the federal election, I know people who worked in the federal election in 2000, just this past year, they kept those polls at these senior facilities. They kept them. So here we are provincially saying through our agency, which is the Elections PEI Commission, well, we want to minimize it. I just showed you some of the numbers in your report from the 2018 municipal election. If we look at what you're suggesting, those numbers for seniors will go down. And you know that, and I know that. So,
Mr. I would like to respond in the way that we did not use these locations in the 2018 election, and we had those numbers that did show up to vote.
well, let's put them back. I know that you're telling me Charlotte Court did not have a mobile poll.
No,
Mayfield
did not.
Senior Citizens did not have one.
no.
The Mount did not have one.
No, the Mount did. The
Okay.
licensed healthcare facilities did.
Yeah, Devar Court?
There's a vast difference between the two.
Devar Court?
No.
It did not. Champion Court? Yes, it did. Because I know people who were sent to that poll.
Yes, it's a licensed facility.
Okay, but you're saying here in your note, the locations that would not meet this legislative definition would be Champion Court, Devar Court, Charlotte Court, Mayfield Senior Citizens, Spring Park Court, and Sherwood Home. Sherwood Home, I believe, is now closed.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you can take off. He's saying it didn't, 2018.
It did not. It did not in the 2018 election. I spoke to the returning officer myself last night.
Yeah.
It was used as a community polling location
Yeah.
in 2015, but these things do change. So there are some challenges around this as well, as to say, where's the line drawn? Where do we hold these and where don't we? Again, with the number of apartment buildings that we have, how do we pick and choose which ones get them? And who do we deal with at these locations to set up these mobile poll locations? We do not do roving polls as you people envision them. We do mobile polls that are established with the administrator of a building. Yeah. Who is the administrator?
Okay.
How do we deal with
Charlotte Court, it's APM. Champion Court, it's the PEI Housing Authority. Devar Court, PEI Housing Authority. All government, that's a government agency. Mayfield Senior Citizens, I believe that falls under provincial housing. Spring Park Court, not sure, but
again, I appreciate the information. The
Yeah.
reality is, when we go to Geneva Villa, we go through that building with the administrator.
Yeah.
When you tell me it's APM or PEI Housing Corp, that doesn't necessarily help us out too much to say, we need a list of all the residents, we need to know who everybody is there, we need to get all of those voting cards, we need to establish a two-person team, we need a location that we can set up in that building, we need to let the residents know as to exactly what time we will be there. This is not anybody can just come in and vote. These are very well managed, very specific polls.
the Devar Court mobile poll was in the common room. Didn't move. Didn't go around to room to room. I was there.
And again, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a challenge for us to set this up. And
Kevin.
why does Devar Court get one, but
Okay. I can,
Well,
39 Kensington Road doesn't? They
Okay.
have more locations, more buildings, more apartments.
well,
yeah,
That
but
becomes a bit of a challenge for us as well.
But you're making you're using legislative definition. I'm just saying that if we provide more places for voters to vote, that it will be stronger than the legislation that you're referring to. It will be. If you want people to vote, You make those polls accessible. You make them available. And to say that, well, that they can just do a mail-in ballot. A mail-in ballot is a process that is not, in my words, user-friendly. That's why I was supporting what you initiated last year or 2 years ago about doing the online voting, because that is a seamless or more, it's a streamlined system of voting. So just lastly, Mr. Chair, just before I close, I just wanted to, this is, again, Councillor Tweel brought up an item outside of what we're discussing here today. On election expenses, under the MGA, any money we collect for the election, any money we spend, we have to submit it to the province or to Elections PEI. Is that right? So if I raise $1,000 from different donors, and I spend 900, I'm supposed to take that 100 and give it back to the city, and then the city gives it out to a charity. And I think this is through the legislation through the MGA. But why? And I want to make this publicly. This is a statement, public statement. Why are the other levels of government, provincial and federal, allowing anyone who makes a contribution to election campaign, whether it's Councillor Ramsey, Councillor Tweel, Councillor Drawn, that you can get a tax receipt that we get from other levels of government. And I just want to park that with you, because maybe that's something that you can speak to.
No, unfortunately, it's not in our wheelhouse at all. We don't. It's a CRA issue. People have asked us that question before, and it's not within the wheelhouse of Elections PEI at all. And the management around the funds and things that through the Municipal Governments Act are done through municipal affairs. It's not our legislation either. Provincially, we have authority over the provincial elections. We have authority over the school board elections. The reality is, you could hire me, or you could hire Joe Smith down the road to be the MEO to run the election for the city of Charlottetown, and they would just have to follow the rules that the Municipal Act sets out.
Again, I just want to get it on the record, because it's in our bylaw, section 5 definitions, subsection 5.2, campaign contribution period, election expense under section 5.5 subsection 2F. I just want that, because I think that's something that we have to look into if we're talking about elections. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Tweel.
Yeah, you mentioned, Tim, Devere Court. Well, the advantage of Devere Court is you have Queen's Court right beside it. So having a polling station there, you're also benefiting the residents, not only in Devere Court, but right beside it. They go out the back door at Queen's Court and just walk into Devere Court. Plus, in that whole cul-de-sac, there's a lot of seniors living there as you come in off Spring Park Road. So that's one of the advantages of having a polling station there at Devere Court. You're accommodating an entire community, and particularly a heavy concentration of senior citizens. And, I'll go back to Champion Court as well. There's 2 or 3 apartment buildings around Champion Court, and it's very accessible for some of those residents, particularly seniors that live in that community. They can walk to the polling station at Champion Court and have a vote. And I believe that's what took place in the last election.
Yeah, polling stations and mobile polls are two different things.
I understand that,
well.
Tim.
So
I understand that. So
mobile polls are not accessible by anybody other than lives in that building.
I understand that. So I'm trying to make that distinction. So let's get back to Champion Court, for example. There was a permanent poll there. I'll now a poll, as I call it. And not only was it advantageous for the seniors that live Champion Court, but also the seniors that live around that polling station. They didn't need a car, they just walked there. So I'm thinking about from a walk, from commuting from pedestrian traffic, walkable community, and it's very accessible for people that live there. So I would strongly recommend that Champion Court be there as a, I think to use your words, community poll. So it's there all day, and it's easy for the residents to access that poll. And again, I'll reinforce Devere Court. You're not just catering to Devere Court. Seniors that live there also, and you can drive through, take a drive after you leave here and go up there and you see Devar Court, Queens Court. And it's very easy for those seniors, particularly the ones with mobility issues, to access that all-day poll at Devar Court. The Mount, I'm not sure. I want to go back to the Mount if you don't mind. What are you looking to do there?
It's a mobile poll location because it's a
It's a-
licensed healthcare
it's a voting
facility. No,
poll.
a mobile poll, not all day. It's a mobile poll location.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on that one. Again, there's a lot of seniors living in the Mount, and some of them are on different schedules. You know, they take naps at different times. They have their meals at different times. Some of them have doctor's appointments. Relatives come to visit them. There's other commitments. You know, they're out with their sons and daughters or grandkids doing errands or going here or going there. I don't think that's going to cut the mustard, particularly a facility of that magnitude at the Mount. I mean, the Mount has experienced expansion. There's more residents living there. That's not, to my mind, an unreasonable request to have a poll there all day long because of some of the commitments that the seniors have. Like I said, they have different hours when they take their nap. Relatives are coming to pick them up, their doctor's appointments, and some of them go here and run errands, go there. You got to make it much more easier as opposed to a certain window. And if they don't meet that window, oh well, they didn't get a chance to vote. No, we've got to really go above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to our seniors and making sure they have that opportunity to vote. And maybe we can be the trailblazers here in the city of Charlottetown, looking to do that. So I'm certainly glad you're here today, so we can have that exchange of information. I think it's very important because I can tell you from previous elections, the frustrations and from some, particularly the seniors, was overwhelming, Tim. And I say this from years gone past. I mean, it was just a horrible experience, And we got to do whatever we can to make sure there are no stones left unturned to make it much easier for our seniors to vote. I mean, to my mind, everything they've done for us that built this community, to make this the democracy that it is, we're the ones that we should, reach out to make sure they have the ability and the easy access to vote.
Before I
Thank you.
Before I go to you, Councilor Drawn, for any questions, Mitchell, you mentioned Duver Court and Queens Court, and I have the same issues with Charlotte Court and Hunt Court. Like the people from Hunt Court just walk down, or they could drove right to Charlotte Court, which is next door.
Yep.
So, and I'm in full agreement too, and I keep stating, I'm using 501 Queen, Tim, as an example. Like, it almost takes me a full day just to walk through there because it's 199 apartments. And I know that they will not, as the mayor said, a lot of them would probably be half confused with the mail-in ballot. And the other ones that do not leave that building, and there's a fair amount of them do not leave that building, like they just won't vote, in my eyes. Because they found it so easy to go from unit 169 right to the lobby and say, hi, Mary, and put their ballot in and then went back to their room. That's all it was. And that's just my opinion on it. I'll ask Bobby. Councilor Drawn, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, so that's our feeling on it, Tim. And I don't know if it's written in stone, or as someone mentioned too, that we pay elections PEI for it, so I think they should be listening, especially for, like, we're only talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 property at the most, homes. Yeah. And because the Sherwood home is closed, and things like that, it's just that it's, I guess you want to have as many people vote as possible.
Yep. That is our goal, 100%.
Yeah. And seniors do vote.
PEI does a fantastic job engaging with the electorate. right from the 18-year-old to the 100-and-some-year-old. I take a bit of exception that we're not being accessible to folks. We
Right.
run very good elections provincially. We run very good elections, I think we have municipally. We enter into an agreement with the city with this. This is something that the city has asked us to do. I understand that the city is paying for it. The city is not paying for the full cost of the election. There's a huge portion of the cost of the election that is taken on by Elections PEI.
Right.
I just want that to be
Oh,
aware
no.
as well.
Yeah.
We'll have to be sure that the relationship works for both parties, that if we're not meeting the needs of the city, then perhaps we're not the ones to be able to run the elections for you. I feel that we do the best job that we can. I'm not saying that we know absolutely everything, but when it comes to these mobile poll locations and things like that, there's a standard that we adhere to, and we feel very strong about that. We're willing to take a look at it. These are the city's bylaws. The city can do what it wants with them, and we will respect what is there, but we'll have to evaluate the relationship for sure.
And I think that's what we're basically asking, would you have a chance to relook at this and sort of go in a deeper discussions with everybody about it and see about it, or is it in stone that, they're not going to these 5 places anymore?
The city creates the bylaws, and that's the reality. When we reached out to
So
the
we
other
could change that bylaw.
municipalities, when we reached out to the other municipalities and we highlighted to them that they had some seniors-friendly apartment buildings and we highlighted the legislation to them, they removed those from their bylaws and said, no, we will go with the healthcare facilities that are licensed in the province, and we will follow the rules for the provincial election to make sure that everything's the same. If the city chooses to have over and above in their bylaws, we will respect those bylaws. But like I said, we have an agreement until January of next year, and we'll have to evaluate that going forward. Again, if we're not meeting the needs of the city, then, I don't know that that's fair to either party. So we'll just have to kind of evaluate that to be sure that everything is suitable for both parties.
Mr. Chair, again, I just want to clarify. I don't think I was, in my comments, insulting
Oh, no,
Elections
no.
PEI. I was just pointing out some of the past practices, and I'd like to continue with those past practices. There are some that we don't want to continue with because we want to update what we're doing with some of these practices. But the practice that's in place was not insulting the staff or Elections PEI. I just made it clear that looking at what was proposed and what has happened in the past, based on the information, again, I applaud you for the information that you provide, both in the graphic and also the data. It's data full. It's a great document. So again, Mr. Garrity, there was no insult, and I'm sure in Councillor Tweel's part, there was no insult. This is just some of the concerns that we have, that as candidates, you want to ensure that voters have total accessibility. And again, we're not saying that you're impeding on that accessibility. We just want to keep the doors open. And if you look at past elections, municipal elections, usually 58-60% voter turnout, correct?
Yep.
And provincial, 70-75, a little higher, right? Federally, it's about the same numbers. So, I want to keep those numbers or bring those numbers up. And that's what we're hoping through, Mr. Garrity. If we did go with the online voting, that would help to push it up. Again, I'm sure that you're going to continue to look at it. But again, don't take my comments, and I'm not speaking for any other councillor, as criticizing what you're doing as an agency. I think you're doing great work, and I keep referring to the data that you put out. You're doing great work. It's just that I have some issues about providing as much opportunity for people to vote. And, you want to see voting? Go south of the border where they have 24-hour voting in some counties. They have 7-day voting, like all during the early voting. Like, we're not asking for that. We're just asking, stay the course and leave it up to the politicians to get the vote out. Thank you, Mr. Garrity.
Yeah, just to sort of reinforce the mayor's comments, like, we're not here to pick on you, Tim. These are just questions that we have for our own wards and everything like that. You're doing a great job. So we thank you for your presentation. Any other questions or anything?
No, like I said, I welcome the opportunity to have this discussion, Tim.
Yeah.
I think it's very important.
It was very good.
I think we need to have that dialogue. I'm just conveying to you the frustration from the residents of previous elections, long before you got here. Some of the what they see as discrepancies, but I don't know if you call it voter discrepancy or difficulties. accessing polls you know, we're a city that, we're a city that wants to be all inclusive, promote diversity, accessibility. So if that's the case, and this is from where we sit, then we got to go above and beyond the call of duty to make sure there are no stones left unturned. And our seniors, I can't say enough. I mean, I'll give you an example. You know, there was an issue here I was dealing with here in the last month or so, an event for our seniors. I fought hard for that. You know, I mean, we can do everything else for, you know, the people living in our society to try to make, you know, often programming and services for the other demographics, but somehow I don't know if we just do enough for our seniors. So I'm a strong proponent of seniors and making sure that they have that comfort zone and that predictability, reliability, and accessibility. So I'm sure you're going to take some of the information we have from here. I don't know if you're going to be back talking to you, Donna, as the CAO,
Yeah.
and then you
That's
know
fair.
we'll go from there. But I say this sincerely. I welcome the opportunity. At least we have the discussion here
Yeah.
today. It's better than getting into the fall and then then you're at the point of no return. Then you're dealing with the frustrations. I like the having that opportunity now because we truly are being proactive. We're being proactive, and we're looking at some of these challenges from a logical and from a rational sense, and trying to be as objective as we possibly can.
Okay.
I want to thank you for being here, Tim.
Yes, I'd like to thank you too, Tim, because it was
Yeah, it was good
like a great
discussion.
discussion.
Good discussion.
And as Councillor Tweel said too, this is not going to throw on our lap in probably October and all of a sudden say, whoa, what are we doing here?
Yeah, what are we
You know,
doing?
things like that. So your input is very invaluable. So we'd like to thank you for everything. And you're doing a great job down there.
Yes.
And
Here,
we'll
here.
wait and hear from the CAO and yourself again.
No, that sounds good. I'll set up a call with Donna and we'll go
Sure.
from there.
You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Say,
Thanks for your time. Thanks for all your time. Right away, that won't take long. Okay, where'd he go? The mayor left. Surprise. Okay, we got one resolution on May 9th, 2022. We're going to rescind and we're going to resubmit the motion to appoint a municipal electional officer.
Mr. Chair, maybe I can explain that.
You can, Donna, if you don't mind.
On the May 9th resolution, we appointed Mr. Garrity and Ms. Thorpe as chief electoral officer and deputy electoral officer. They should have been appointed as chief municipal electoral officer and deputy electoral officer.
Yeah.
So that's so we rescind the May 9th one and pass a new one where we'll do it properly. It was
Good.
just a clerical error.
Yeah. Okay, that's moved by Councillor Tweel. Bobby, you want to second that? Or Councillor Duran, could you second that?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Tweel, second by Councillor Duran.
Thank you.
Okay, and that was that one, Donna? Set it for that one, Chantel, for the electional bylaw? Okay. Okay, now we're gonna move into basic income guarantee for PEI. We have Marie Burge here. Marie, if you'd like to have a seat. Sorry for having you wait that long, but it's just one of these days.
You know what, Marie? Mickey?
Sure, it's not a problem. And then when you do speak, Marie, you just press the little microphone button. Okay. Donna, or does you want Marie to take it, or is it the mayor, or who's in charge of this one?
Mr. Chair, I believe that Maureen, our guest does have all the information. I'll get her to introduce herself. But this was a meeting that took place last week with MP, His Honorable Wayne Easter, and we met and spoke about the big basic income guarantee and there's no there's nothing locking the city into any financial aspect. I think what Maria's looking for is just to present her proposed resolution and get some dialogue. Correct, Marie, if I'm wrong? So I introduce Marie Burge.
Oh, this one. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Wayne Easter is part of a committee with me. We have a national committee that's working on PEI as an ideal launching place for basic income guarantee. Hopefully, that it will be tried here and also be tried in other parts of the country. If you want a little background, do you want some background on any of this? Like, this started actually in PEI in 2003. A group of us, the organization that I work for is Cooper Institute, and we're a founder of an organization that's called PEI Working Group for a Livable Income. And it's made up of about 10 community-based organizations from across the island. We started off, and our main concerns was that, people have a livable income. Like, that was our basic goal. And so a lot of our efforts in the early days was to look at the different sources of people's income and see if we could have our voice a little stronger on behalf of people who really don't have sufficient to live on. Anyway, we've been working on that since 2003, and next year is our 28th anniversary, so we'll have to have a little party. But what happened then is that as we talked about how people live on the incomes that they have, whether it's pensions or wages or whatever people live on, social assistance, and for a lot of people on PEI, EI for some parts of the year. Like, we just felt we had to watch those and do lobbying around them, especially to the provincial government. So as we talked about that, and right from the beginning, we felt that the long-term solution to lack of income for a lot of people on PEI was to have something that was what we called a basic income guarantee. And we actually didn't start to work on that directly until 2013. And we had an expert in the program come from Ottawa and spend a couple of days with us here to just give us a boost about getting that started. So for the past 10 years, we've been working on promotion of basic income guarantee being established, and in PEI, we felt that right from the beginning that PEI would be a great place to start. There have been pilots in different parts of the country at different times, and we felt that it would be really important to have one that has a full provincial jurisdiction. And as soon as we started, we went out to the community, and we went from the west to the east and had a lot of meetings in Charlottetown and actually asked people, and the majority of them would be people who have really issues about income. Like, what direction should we go in? And we had our own ideas. We brought those out, and people just told us really clearly a direction we need to go. One of them is that we started off thinking maybe we have a pilot, perhaps in the Surrey area or something like that, and just test it out. And as soon as we said that to the people, no matter where we were in the province, they said, no way. We don't want any more divisions in PEI. If we're going to do it, let's do it province-wide. That came from the people, and it was very strong. And like, we were surprised how much people really knew about the program itself. And they taught us a lot. We learned a lot we did a lot of we did a bit of 8 forums across PEI. So we've been working on that all these times, quietly sometimes, but we talked a lot to the provincial government and got a really good reception. And you realize, of course, that the provincial, the legislature voted unanimously to support moving forward with basic income for PEI. And there were 3 different votes in the legislature that said that. There was one in 2016, another one in 2019, and then another one at the end of the, after the report of the committee, special committee on poverty on PEI. And that acceptance in the legislature really empowered or authorized the premier to go to Ottawa and talk to the prime minister, because it has to be federal and provincial. And although all across Canada now we're doing a campaign to discuss this with municipalities. We just and understanding that, well, in Ontario, there are a lot of municipalities that are also involved in social assistance programs. So their situation is different, but knowing majority of Canada, that municipalities they're not engaged in social programs. I mean, social assistance programs. So what happened then is that in 2019, when there was here in PEI, there was a minority government, and in Ottawa, there was a minority government. A group in Kingston, Ontario, it's a group had been working like ours on basic income. Although we were the first ones in the country in PEI, we're the first ones to have a group like that. But in 2019, it was Kingston, Ontario, who said, let's all get together across the country and support PEI as the launching place for basic income guarantee. So that's been, I belong to that group. It's called the Coalition Canada, Basic Income Revenue de Base. And so still, that's the main goal for that organization. It's to promote PEI as the ideal launching place for a province-wide, fully funded, federal and provincial joined, however they work that out, that it be universal in that it's accessible to anyone who has needs of support in order to have their basic needs met. And basic needs, we all know what those are, like just the daily needs that people have. So right now we're in various campaigns across the country and here in PEI as well to get more people involved, speaking out in favor of it. And so I was asked to meet with the city of Charlottetown, and Wayne Easter is working with me also on a national team, where we're trying to work out just the kinks of how you'd ever even establish that. And it's not simple. It's not simple, but so anyway, out of that was Wayne Easter and I met with the mayor, and we carried on a conversation since that, and that what the resolution, that the direction of the resolution, I presented it, and I know a lot of work you need to revise it according to your own language.
So you're looking for a resolution stating that we're in favor of this?
Yes, number one, that you would support PEI as a launching place for basic income guarantee.
And there's nothing you're looking
And
for.
secondly, that you would say clearly that you would really like the premier of the province to be able to make contact with the federal government, especially the prime minister. That every time the premier has spoken, he's spoken really clearly about the fact that he favors this, he wants it to happen, and this is what he thinks is a solution for a lot of things in PEI. And has tried a number of times to make that contact.
Yes.
And it hasn't worked yet. And so it's not so much to put pressure on, but we're just asking people just to support him.
Okay.
And let it be clear that he's not going on his own. It isn't just the legislature, but there are a lot of organizations who support that and would want him to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll take that information, and Donna, we'll look at a resolution.
We have a resolution.
Oh, you have one already?
In your package, it was just circulated, I believe, Mr. Chair.
Sorry if I missed that.
It was just circulated.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, there it is there. Okay. Did you see the resolution, Marie?
I have my copy.
Oh, yes, okay.
I have my original copy, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same.
It went out of my hands like as soon as I sent it here.
Right, okay. Do you have any issues, Bob, or Councillor Drong?
Yes, Kevin. I don't know enough about the guaranteed income. Like, I know we're struggling here with a lot of businesses closing or reduced hours because we can't get enough people to work. And, you know, it worries me about the young people coming up now that if there was a basic guaranteed income for them, what is the push to get out and get a job? Like I said, I think, Marie, you know, you're doing a great job of moving this forward and on a national level, but I really don't know enough about it, and I can't support it at this time until I really come to grips about it. So, you know, I can appreciate it, but I just don't know. I struggle with this because you know it's a lack of knowledge on my behalf of knowing full well what this encompasses, of who's able to get it. You know, can you just apply everybody, then you don't have to work, or does it work with social services? You know, I just, like I said, I don't know enough about it right now, so
Okay.
I can't support it at this time, but thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Trio, you okay?
I've attended meetings over the years, like Marie said, meetings were held since 2009. I mean, I attended some of the meetings down at the Murphy Center over the years. I think, no, I think, you know, what Bob's talking about.
Can you lower your screen? If I can read your lips, that'd be good.
Oh, sorry about that.
I think it'd be advantageous, Marie, if, I know he's had a meeting with the mayor, and of course, we're just, you know, 2 or 3 members of council. I think it'd be advantageous for yourself and Wayne Easter. I don't know if it's to meet with council or call a community meeting and invite, you know, people from the community to come and give a presentation to, you know, talk about what a pilot project would look like, how it would unfold, what's the time frame, what are you looking to accomplish in the short term, long term, you know, what that pilot would look like. As you pointed out, across the country, there's different versions of a basic income across Canada, and how this basic, the one you're proposing, how this basic income program would roll out here in the province. And as you pointed out, you were looking at doing one community like Surrey, and then you got to push back, saying, no, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right across the board. So I think information is power, knowledge is power. So to, you know, to what Bob's talking about, I'm sure if Bob had the opportunity to hear the full presentation and what it means, like he talked about business, we have labor, people that are, find it very difficult to live. I don't know what's going to happen here, Marie. I mean, if you look at what's been transpiring here over the last number of months, the cost of oil, the cost of gas, the cost of place to live. I mean, it's above and beyond. I think what's happening now. I don't know if it's a basic income or it's a basic survival. How are we going to survive as a community and as a society? Because the challenges that we're experiencing right now, regardless of what your income is unprecedented. It's uncharted waters, and we're I don't know what's going to happen when the fall rolls around. I really don't, Marie. I don't know where we're going as a democracy. I believe that we're being held hostage to some of these major corporations that are that are just saying, here, this is what the cost is, and there's no checks and balances. I think this might be a starting point, your basic income, but I think we've got to expand and enlarge the envelope to get into other issues, because right now people are not empowered, Marie. They're not empowered. And I don't know what we can do as a municipality, but you look at other jurisdictions, they're taking the tax off gasoline. Some of them are trying to be creative and they're trying to eliminate some of these barriers, but cost of food, like I don't know. I mean, I think
no,
that,
and like, I suppose almost everybody in this room has not a bad income. Mine is pretty low, but
So is mine.
well,
but about people who just haven't had enough to live on for the past 20 years, and we're into this, almost a recession. No, I don't know how people are going to survive.
like you
It's
said,
true.
sorry, Chair, survive. I mean, recession, inflation. I don't know what you'd call this. I mean, I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, but Marie, we've
no.
got to have these discussions, and
Yeah.
our
We've
provincial
had a lot of meetings in Charlottetown, I
Yeah.
must say, and anytime we've had a meeting, it's standing room only.
Yeah.
Like, people come in droves. You were at a meeting that actually Richard, his brother, organized a meeting. We had asked all the political parties to
Yeah.
each
Is that
host a
about
meeting.
4 years ago, Marie? 4 or 5 years
yeah,
ago?
it's a few
Yeah.
years ago. Of course, we haven't had meetings
No, I was there.
for so long.
Yeah.
Well,
Phil-
Richard was the last
Phil-
year Richard was in.
Yeah,
It was
Richard got there early and
It
then
was
Phil
in
got there late.
1919. It was in 19.
Yeah.
And just one thing, and maybe I'm speaking out of line, Bobby, but I think what you were asking, because you were hard to hear one time, was, is it going to be, it's hard enough to get people to work nowadays, these young people, not only young people, but if they're guaranteed something that's going to be coming in the mail every 2 weeks, is that going to sort of defer them from working? Am I correct with that?
Yes, that's pretty well what I'm getting at. Like, I just don't know where it's going, and I'd like to hear about the full presentation, because
Any chance speaking up just a little louder, Bobby, please, for Marie?
yeah, I'm just saying that businesses are struggling to get the workforce working. And I know with young people, like you just mentioned, if it's guaranteed, then they're not going to struggle. I mean, we've all worked our whole lives, and you keep working. You'll do anything to get a little bit more. But I see the younger generation, when it's freer or easier to access different programs, then the ability or the desire to work extra is not there. And I'm certainly not saying it's about everybody or just the young. I just think we're faced with a situation here that it has to come to a loggerhead, I guess, and there's so many programs giving money out that it doesn't push the people that are able to work. I mean, as part of the guaranteed income supplement, if you're not able to work or you have a health crisis or you're disabled, I certainly understand that, and I'm all for that. But it's just the whole big picture of everything. is what I struggle on. And like I said, I don't have enough information to know what this entitles or what it gives to the people that need this, that are struggling. You know, I don't know the whole program is what I'm trying to say.
Thanks, Bob. You're my counselor, by the way.
Yes, I know you moved into Centennial.
It's a concern. It's not a great time to be talking about basic income guarantee. I must tell you, after CERB, because there were a number of fallouts from CERB that people are just going to remember and repeat and repeat. But this is not the first time that a jurisdiction has tried out basic income guarantee. And one of the things that has come out really clearly in all of the experiments is that people work. When they have enough to live on, they're much more inclined to work. Now, I know you're bringing up a question about young people, and like as an old person, I want to defend them because I don't think they're a bunch of lazy louts, but I can see patterns being, that we could have patterns develop. And I think in the implementation of this, we have to be really, we spent hours yesterday working on how this would be implemented. And we have a little concern about youth. And it isn't about their unwillingness to work as much as it is, it's just something, it's very new for the young people. I don't think it's that new to older people, but to young people, it'd probably even be the first time they would have heard of it. So it is a concern, and we have in our implementation planning, we talk specifically, and not just about 18 to 25, it's 18 to 30 now that we have to think about as youth. And it is a concern. I don't think we can, the implementation of this is not going to be simple, and we have to take into consideration all of the complexities of the society we're living in. But the tests that have been done so far in various jurisdictions really tell us, in general, people work more. People want to work if they have their basic needs met. And it's that energy that people get from knowing that I don't have to get up in the morning and worry about food and rent and so on, but that's covered. So, but it's still, basic income is just poverty. Eh? People are still in poverty when you have basic income guarantee. It brings you up to the poverty line. Well, the poverty line is poverty. It's scraping by, and it's so we want to make that clear. People get the idea somehow with basic income guarantee, people are going to sit back and they just have all this luxury, and there's an attitude about that in the community in PEI that people are just going to be lazy. Of course, when people tell me that people are lazy, I always say, well, are you? Are you lazy? Well, no, I'm not lazy. But most people are not lazy. You watch when jobs are offered in PEI. We have the best record in Canada for job employment engagement, and when there are jobs.
So Donna, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Since you're the glue that holds this whole corporation together.
I would think that the committee itself will have to make some decisions on whether you want to go to, with this resolution to council, whether you want to have a larger presentation to council, or as Councillor Tweel suggested, a public meeting. That will, those would seem to me to be your options.
And Mr. Chair, as Marie said, public meetings were held. The last one, it was, I think, 2017. It was in room 207 at the Murphy Center. Large group, and we had working groups that worked on talking about this issue. And again, to repeat what Marie said, it's helping. This program, big, will help people up to the poverty line. It's not going to put them in a lower income bracket or middle income bracket. It's just getting them up to the poverty line. And I asked Marie on Prince Edward Island, and again, she avoids using the word pilot. It's not a pilot. They want to initiate this program and to test it or to see if we can work on it 3 to 5 years. 39% of islanders would be eligible for this program, for big.
At some time during the year.
Yeah. So, we may, again, we come from a position where we have 1 or 2 salaries coming in, or we've had the advantage of school, we've had the advantage of extended family. But I've worked in a downtown school, and there are students that don't have that extended family. They're below the poverty line. So I want to reinforce that Marie did provide a PEI, Prince Edward Island Working Group for a livable income. And I think that should be sent out to all councillors so that they can take a look at what Marie has done. And I know Marie and the Cooper Institute, the Cody Institute, these are great organizations that are about social justice. And Marie, I'm honored that you've came to the city of Charlottetown first to ask us to be part of this this launch, because it shows that the capital, the birthplace of Confederation, is willing to step up with our provincial and federal partners to say, let's see where we can go with this. This is not the first time that the island has been used as a test case. We can go back to 1969 when the Comprehensive Development Plan was initiated by then Premier Alex Campbell. And it was to modernize government, education, infrastructure. And you know what? Here we are 2022, and it was a huge success. So we have the geographical place, we have the history, we have a very motivated persons like Marie, MP, the Honorable Wayne Easter, and many others that see this as a provincial program. And Marie, no, we don't want to look at a Zone 1 or a Zone 2. We know what that means for EI. And we want to stay away from 2 zones because we're one community, we're one island, we're one zone. So I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that we would invite Marie and the Honorable Wayne Easter in to make a presentation to council, but we'll send out the background information with the proposed resolution, and this is our path forward, if that's all right.
That would be lovely. Like Wayne would be here today, but. Yeah, Wayne would be here today, but it was kind of short notice. Usually he'll rearrange whatever he's doing. Wayne has been a supporter of basic income guarantee for as long as I know him. And he has a lot of experience of rural poverty for sure, and especially in the farming area. But he has been an active promoter of basic income in the Parliament. And so now that he's not in that position, he's agreed to volunteer some of his time to help us. So he would be here today. He was really disappointed. He said whatever he had on today, he couldn't rearrange it. And so he would love that, and so would I love that, to do a presentation.
Okay, why don't we are everyone in agreement that we'll have that sent out to all council, and then maybe at a future date have Wayne and Marie back in to explain to council?
Chair?
That would be
Does
great.
that sound like a good idea, Bob?
Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be nice.
Okay, thank you. Your
Yes,
worship.
Mr. Chair, look, I appreciate that. Again, I don't think Marie is on a timeline, but we're looking at something maybe in July that we could meet with Marie. And if Marie wishes to bring other advocates of this proposal, I would recommend or encourage you to do just that, because as Wayne said, remember what he said at our June 17th meeting, being a rural politician and the doors that he would have knocked on, and as councillors and as a candidate for mayor, you can walk throughout this city. There are many issues, And, you know, it's, again, I know Marie comes from a strong Christian background. As I said, you know, my wife's always the devil's advocate. And as she said, the devil has no advocate. So in this point, I agree with Marie to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Marie, for your presentation, and can take that back to Wayne, and we will get a hold of you
Yeah.
at a later date. We won't promise a certain date, but we'll work on a date with you, and then for all council can hear it once you get the background information, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
How's that?
That would be fun.
Thank you very
Yes,
much for your
thank you.
time.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair. Thank you, Marie.
Sorry to keep you so late, but
That's okay. Yep, I'll probably be making a donation to the city of Charlottetown when I get out to my car.
oh,
No, take that up to Donna. You can take that ticket to Donna.
okay. Thank you again, Marie. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
I think I'll table those other two items with the next
I would appreciate that, Councilor Twill.
Yeah.
Yes, Curly, we're gonna go over an update on strategic plan. I believe that's the one, Chantel?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just before we do that, I
Uh-huh.
just wanted, Donna, you will follow up with, send out a package.
You will give it to me, your worship?
Yeah, I have it, and then we can get that out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And if we have to resend it, Chantel, we'll resend it with a flag. You'll get it.
Do you have a package that we don't have?
She.
Do you have a package that we don't have?
Can we listen to
Insider trading
Curly? I'm glad you're
information.
here. It's always good.
Insider trader
Okay.
information.
It's always good to have you here.
Okay, I've been here since 10 to 9 this morning, and I don't get paid that much to be here all day. Curly, how are you? Sorry to keep you waiting. But the mayor, he brings people in. Would you like to give us an update on the strategic planning? Or Donna, who would you like? Okay, Curly's girl. Thank you, Curly.
Thank you, Chair. So just by way of update, we worked on a kind of fast and furious staff report update to committee, and I hope the print copy is before you now, but I'm happy to just go verbally and then address any questions should they come up. But basically, since the project was awarded earlier this year, strategic plan, we've been working closely with Group ATN, so the award consultant on the project. We've worked through, obviously, the initial development of the project, and we're now well into the engagement phase. I will say confidently that we've remained aligned in terms of timeline as initially proposed and presented to committee and council, along with budget. Now, in terms of context, a few recent updates. As of yesterday, we launched our new digital engagement platform, and I mention that before you now because the budget and costing and real energy and catalyst behind it came through the strategic plan project. So that's all within budget, but it's a really great item and a bit of a boost for the city overall. So strategic plan's the first to use it, but we're actually going to see it across lots of our major corporate projects and plans going forward. So yesterday we hosted 2 open houses, one with staff and one with community. And between the 2 open houses, we had well over 100 people attend. The online survey is currently open as well. We have over 400 responses. That is great. We've actually been asked to extend the deadline. So we won't close tomorrow. We'll close end of weekend just to give people a second opportunity in case they might have missed it. So we'll be boosting that as well. We're quite happy with the results, but again, any extra additional insights we can gather, we're happy to see those as well. Our engagement is going to include additional workshops next week, and those are our 4 workshops with staff, department heads and managers, council, as well as stakeholders. So we look forward to gathering all these results and then coming back to committee, then council, with our draft strategic plan in July. As a next step, we do want to work through, once approved, an action plan. So some of the insights we're receiving are action plan oriented, so very specific project-based comments, which are wonderful and great, but that's where you might see them come as an evolution. to the final strategic plan, so part of the action plan. So we've been trying to really clarify that for folks, saying great information, give us everything that you have right now. You may see it in the strategic plan, but if you don't, it might just be held out to the action plan because it's better suited for that discussion in that time. So I'm happy just to address any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, Curly. I dropped in to see us there last night, and it was a great crowd. They were coming and going all night. And I was driving home, I was saying to myself, now, people putting ideas on the boards for certain stations you had set up. Like, there's a perception out there that everything's going to happen yesterday. I think you and Doug did a great job explaining that to people that it's just a plan. It could be 3 to 5 to 10 years down the road by the time everything's looked at. And a couple of notes that I seen posted, and it still sort of bothers me in a big way, is that it's affordable housing, and they're printed in big letters from a lot of people. And I've been harping on this for 8 years now, that it is not the city's role. We did our due diligence. I know the mayor doesn't agree with me on this a lot, but we have a tax incentive, but we're not into building for buildings and mortar, and we're not landlords, I guess, basically. And we love to have everyone have a place, but it really jumped out at me again last night with a lot of the boards where it said affordable housing and it had in big black letters. And the residents, I guess, are not fully aware that it's a federal provincial program, affordable housing. Like, we can do what we can for tax incentives and all that stuff, but it's just, like, that jumped out at me last night. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. There were lots of big topics on the board, and that's the point of the strategic plan. We want to know what the biggest concerns are, and that one was loud and clear. I will say that our goal with the strategic plan is to understand what we can do and what is our role, and that's for us to start to communicate as we move through this. But we want to hear everything, because as a community, we want to be a complete community and a good partner. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking on behalf of the CAO, but I think that's the approach we're taking with the strategic plan, and we do want to hear from everyone, which includes all the topics right now.
No, and that's fantastic. You just said, as, you know, we had to explain to certain terms of references to people that we are not landlords, I guess. And, you know, we all love to see everybody living everywhere, but it's just one of those things. And those were some of the things that jumped out at me last night. Thank you.
Further to Carly's comments, Mr. Chair, I think we have to know, I think it's through the strategic plan will be a tool that the city will be able to use to say what's within our bailiwick and what is out. But also what she said, and I think, and I'd really like to reiterate it, it's in the action plan. Like, we'll do the plan, and that will be the big idea, the mission and the goals, the values, but it's in the action plan. If that's where the details are. And for those of you who were around, you will remember when we did our first sustainability plan, it was way up here and you know, very, very high end. But it was when we got down to doing the action plan that we really put the meat to the bones on what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And so I think you'll see, I think you people will be able to see the strategic plan when you're talking with residents as a tool to be able to be used. This is what we're standing for. This is where we want to go. And I think they are really doing a remarkable job in a remarkable time.
Oh, they are. Like, it's fantastic in the positive feedback. The one gentleman walked in, I don't even think he was from here, and he just said, "Oh, the city listens to people here, do they?" No, but I think this gentleman was renting a room upstairs, but he was from a different province. He said, "Oh, God, I don't see that in my own province." But anyway, you're doing a great job, Curly. Thank you.
Come to Charlottetown. That's where you find things going on. Curly, I do want to thank you. It was well received here with staff yesterday and then last night. I know Councillor Ramsey and I were up out with any other councillors? Did you have some others?
Yes, Your Worship, Councillor Yankoff as well.
Good. So, you know, we had some participation, and I don't think this is the end. And Carly, you're right. I think the input is to give us some guidance. It's, as the interim CAO stated, that it's to look at what we're responsible for. I know some think that we're going to take on this issue, but it's a good exercise. And then what people are very excited about is that following this, and hopefully in tandem near the end, is that we'll start the comprehensive review of the official plan and the zoning development bylaw. Do you have anything on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, actually, just previous to this meeting, I'm serving as a bit of a bridge point between the strategic plan and official plan. So I was actually just on for about an hour with those consultants, giving them an update on where we're at to date with strategic plan. I'm scheduling a transition and integration meeting between the two groups, and we'll be kind of serving as a bit of that bridge point. So they're very excited. They've been very kind of watching keenly along the road here, but they're seeing the energy pick up, and they just want to lift off from what we've started on the strategic plan. So that's the good news there.
Great news story for a change. Okay, is there anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
You can, Mr. Chair.
Oh, well, before we do, Chantel, could you make a note of Councillor Twill's 2 questions for our next meeting?
Two items for the
There are
next.
2 items?
Yeah, please.
He's going to put those on hold.
What?
Okay. He's going to park them. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you, Curly. Okay, do I get a
Did you
motion to
say,
adjourn?
did you say he was going to park them? Thank you.
I said I want to table them to the next committee meeting, Mr. Mayor.
Do I get a motion?
That'd be the appropriate,
Do I sit?
considering, and I think maybe we need a third.
Thank you,
item,
Bobby.
Council.
I don't think are we on?
No, I think,
We didn't adjourn?
no, we didn't.
We just did now.
Did,
Moved by the mayor, second by Councillor.
I want to go back to the